Good evening and welcome to Touchstone Tales to Showcase. My name is Imrana and I will be your host this evening. I'm supporting the Touch Co-Commission with Revolution Arts and Welcome Collection and working alongside commission recipient, artist and playwright Sudha Bhuchar. I would like to start off with some general online housekeeping. Please keep your cameras off and mics on mute for the duration of the event. We want this to be an interactive event, so we do encourage you to use the chat function to post any questions or comments during the performances. Please note that this event is being recorded and will be streamed live on Facebook. For the best viewing experience, please choose the gallery view at the top of your screen. We have suggested an age guidance of 14 years plus for the event, as there are some subtle references to unwanted touch and abuse, and dialogue around death and loss, especially during COVID and performing of last rites. There is nothing explicit shown, so families with children over 14 are welcome. In light of the current climate, it is evident that despite the solidarity between many communities, there are still those who want to co-opt spaces like this with negative rhetoric. So in the event of any malicious disturbances, we will end this event and new login details will be emailed to you within 10 minutes. For this reason, anyone with mics turned on may have to be removed from the room to help safeguard the event. In the event of any unforeseen technical issues, please bear with us while we try to fix the problem. Now, moving on to our programme for this evening. Touchstone Tales is the second instalment of fictional news stories that form part of a body of work emanating from the Touch Co-Commission by Revolution Arts and Welcome Collection. This is an artist response and year-long residency that ran in conjunction with the Touch Test Survey, commissioned by Welcome and in partnership with Goldsmiths University and BBC Radio 4. Nearly 40,000 people took the survey and the results were announced on BBC Radio 4 last week. There were some interesting findings with regards to unwanted touch, consent, and the Me Too movement, alongside conversations around touch in terms of similarities and differences between people of different cultures and faiths. You can listen back to the findings by searching The Anatomy of Touch on BBC Radio 4. Sudha is an award-winning actor and playwright and the artistic director of Butcher Boulevard, who is the recipient of the Touch Commission and has been working on the evolving project titled Touchstone Tales as part of Revolution Arts Bury Park residency. Sudha has spent the last 12 months facilitating workshops and conversations to explore the theme of touch with communities in Bury Park, which then transitioned into sharing stories of the absence of touch during lockdown. This engagement has directly inspired the work you're about to see. This evening, we will begin with a duologue performance followed by 2 monologues conceived and written by Sudha, and we will end with a Q&A session with artists and the audience yourselves. So, without further ado, I give you Touchstone Tales 2.
आने से उसके आए बहार, जाने से उसके जाए बहार, आने से उसके आए बहार, जाने से उसके जाए बाहर. जिंदगानी है मेरी
महबूबा.
You were right. Huh? Listen, when I sang it in Nairobi, Manjuben, we always ended with singing परियों की रानी है मेरी महबूबा, है ना?
You must be thinking of another song, Farid Bhai. I'm sure it's मौजों की रवानी है मेरी महबूबा महबूबा, or it's the other verse. हर कोई ये समझे होगी वो तो है चंचल हसीना. हाँ?
परियों की रानी है मेरी महबूबा. See, that's how I always remembered it. I could have sworn, but then I Googled it.
And you can't argue with Google.
You can't argue with Google. I watched and searched all the videos. I thought Dharminder was the hero, but it was Jitendra. And those lyrics, they're not in any of the verses.
Well, you're dreaming about your beloved, so you must have changed the lyrics. Sudha Ben, he is still in love with his Pariyon ki Rani, है ना? Still searching for the fairy queen.
That's another story.
But we're talking about touch. Sudha, he daydreams a lot.
It's not a crime, daydreaming, last time I checked.
Well, one of the themes is touch hunger, craving to be touched, I guess. You can dream about touchings or whatever. You see, touch, it reduces stress. You feel wanted, loved. वो तो है ना? I mean, if you get hit in anger, वो तो अलग बात है. Thank God I never had any kind of touch like that from anyone.
See, at this age, music is the only thing that touches. But when you can't find the words that you remember, then you really feel lost.
Yes, the words still touch us beautifully. Emotions, they come out.
Manjuben, you remember our mantra? Tears in the audience, not on the stage.
That's not your original thought. Someone famous must have said that. Elton John broke down in tears when he was singing your song in New Zealand.
My song?
Not your song, your song. It's a little bit funny.
Manjuben, I am not Elton John and you're not Asha Bhosle. If we cry on stage, we'll be booed off.
I hardly sing now. जिंदगी का सफर है ये ऐसा सफर
कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं. You follow, na, Sudha Bhai? We're all walking on the path of life. But who understands it? Who knows it, really? चलते हैं सब मगर कोई समझा नहीं कोई जाना नहीं.
That song always made me cry. He's dying, isn't he? In the film, the hero.
I can't remember, but must be, judging by the lyrics. जिंदगी को बहुत प्यार हमने किया मौत से भी मोहब्बत निभाएंगे हम. See, it means I loved life to the full and will embrace death equally.
Not embrace, Farid Bhai. Nibhana is to fulfill. He says he will fulfill his love for death, like duty maybe, because, he really doesn't want to die.
See, these sentiments are all lost in translation.
Hindi songs, they pierce straight to the heart. No translation is adequate.
See, that is touch that you can't measure.
Farid Bhai used to run a music band and I was one of the singers. Bollywood songs, Hindi bhajans, garba, karaoke. There's this gentleman in Luton and he goes around with the karaoke. So that if I happen to be there, they coax me to sing.
Yeah, but our band haven't sat down for a long time. They've all got families, grandchildren like us. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a scenario her husband won't mind. See, we are talking about touch, right? I was always a protector for her. She would get very annoyed. She would get so annoyed with that. Anna?
You know, if I wanted to make a phone call with my husband, he would send somebody with me. I would say, what the hell? Because, we didn't have mobile phones at that time. Yeah, those red boxes, ne? Because I didn't know his culture. Why are you sending somebody with me just to make a phone call? And why am I not allowed to talk to any men anywhere? Because their culture is more protective towards women, which I never knew. I mean, my husband, he didn't mind when I came home after a gig at 1 a.m.
Manjuban, it's got nothing to do with my Muslim culture. It's the environment we were in. Say at a Punjabi wedding or something, and a few people have had one too many. They have a great tradition of giving money and this, that, and the other. But when they are a little bit tipsy, they don't realize now that this woman is not just another. They think anybody is cheap. Now, I could never tell her that. Nah.
Or tell me what? That you were protecting me from unwanted touch. You were very different then, huh? And now we can speak up.
Dekho, in our Asian communities, how we touch is different. There are taboos, boundaries. Then you start getting on the religious side of things. You must have heard, sometimes people do take advantage when it comes to touch, especially when it comes to the younger generation. Strict upbringing doesn't help because children, see, if they had spoken up, something could be done. See, I've worked in the community mental health team, and we've dealt with a lot of marital problems and women and children and abuses. So we are quite aware of it. This job, she's going to laugh at me, but it has been beneficial for me, Manjuban, because it's changed me. So it's changed me a lot, and I understand women a lot more than I ever did before, and I've changed.
Oh, so these stories touched you so much, you've changed your behavior patterns towards women.
For example, coming from a man's perception, I sometimes didn't realize that abuse even took place, that there can be another side. See, sometimes it can lead to such a scenario that it becomes difficult to control. A person is fed up. And then all the other things come into it. There's life, there's finances, there's housing, and this, that, and the other. And then a person loses momentum. It's happening everywhere during lockdown.
Sudha Ben, I come from a very different background. City life in India, working in Luton and going into some of the houses. But yeah, I had no knowledge that, women can be treated like that. Emotionally, mentally, financially. I had no clue. It would touch me in such a way. They had no right to education, no right to go to the cinema by themselves, whatever. Because, if I want to go, I go to the cinema, but by myself.
No, Manjuba, not all of them.
I couldn't stop crying. What life some people have here, ne? When I came here, I thought, what a shit country. That's how I felt. Years back when I came after my marriage, honeymooned in Swiss Alps and landed in Luton.
Our Bollywood dreams turned to Argos dreams in Luton, Manjuben. But now, Luton is part of our DNA. As you work to change it, it transforms you.
It was an arranged marriage in India. I was so naive, ne? When I got married. So naive.
See, the thing is, ladies get too excited about their weddings from watching films. Mere piya ka ghar hai ye, Rani hu main, Rani hu ghar ki.
It was like, kahan milna tha, kahan mil gaya.
चलते चलते यूं ही कोई मिल गया था, यूं ही कोई मिल गया था.
सारी राह चलते चलते, सारी राह चलते चलते. But in our case, बाद में चलना हुआ ना. We caught it only after we got engaged, between the engagement and wedding.
You were courting officially. Where did he take you?
Husband has forgotten. In Ahmedabad. We were walking by the river, coffee houses, Gandhiji's ashram. He doesn't even remember our wedding, what I was wearing. We call the sari ghar choru because you are leaving home. It's a specific sari for Gujarati weddings. Red, silk or chiffon. And the panetar comes from the parents' side, which is always white on the top. And then the red one, which comes from your in-laws. Silk was the white one, soft next to my skin like my mother's love. I still have them in the trunk. The night we got married, after the ceremony, my husband was out in the garden. And my in-laws, they had a jhula, a swing. And he was sitting on the swing, and somehow he fell off.
He fell off, or you pushed him? You pushed him. Did you push him?
No, I would not push him on the first night. No. He was sitting by himself, swinging, and he fell
off. I'm trying to visualize it.
That was my wedding night.
But coming from Kenya and in our community, we didn't have any of this opportunity for cooking. It's too modern. See, I hardly knew my wife. She's from here. Our great-grandfathers were cousins and they lived next door to each other in Pakistan. Once every 2-3 years, we went for holiday and so did her family. And that's how we met as children. Also on the swing, Manju Ben, in our elder's garden. And she did not push me off. One day, out of the blue, after 20 years of marriage, my wife says to me, I always wanted that if I marry, I should marry you. I said, but you never said that. I never knew.
She was buttering you up.
Buttering. And that's called buttering, is it?
She had her eyes on you and she snapped you up.
Yeah, she said, I'm not joking. I'm being serious. I felt ashamed that my reason for marrying her wasn't as pure. See, maybe because she had a lot of responsibility. Her mother had died and at a very young age, and being the elder sister, she was bringing up her younger brothers, and maybe I was touched by that caring. So when one of my sister-in-laws suggested the proposal, I said, okay, fine. It wasn't anything, love or anything. Love of my life was different.
She is the fairy queen, who turns winter to spring when she arrives and takes spring with her when she leaves. She makes lotus flowers bloom on the shimmering lakes and waterfalls cascade from the mountain. Aane se uske aane bahar, jaane se uske jaye bahar. बड़ी मस्तानी है मेरी महबूबा, मेरी जिंदगानी है मेरी महबूबा.
We met at her birthday party in Kampala, where I was invited to sing with my band. She was 16 and I was 18. Same community. I still remember.
बार बार दिन ये आए, बार बार दिल ये गाए, तुम जियो हजारों साल, ये है मेरी आरज़ू.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shagufta. Happy birthday to you.
Shagufta, you never told me her name. Are Sudha, she's telling you because you're the writer.
But Sudha Ben, you're not going to use the real name, are you? Yeah, they played musical chairs at the party and we tried to land on the same chair. I remember she was wearing a dark green Mukesh dupatta, which fluttered in my face and our eyes met.
I love Mukesh embroidery. Silver stars like woven dreams on delicate chiffon. I had a fuchsia suit just like that. I wore it on my engagement.
See, we used to meet and everything. Whenever I was in Kampala. Chupke chupke, of course. Otherwise, I would have been slaughtered. Secret notes, and we had our song. And then I was sent here. New to this country, I started my studies, and she was waiting for a marriage proposal from me so she could come.
So why didn't you speak to her family and ask for her hand?
Why? See, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. I was young, just trying to settle down initially. When they came from Uganda, I remember meeting her at Luton Airport. Maybe I was married or she was about to get married, and all she said was, "I'm sorry." And I said the same. You know, after my wife opened her heart, I decided to open mine. She blew her top.
So the Ben, he likes to be honest. Wrong place, wrong time. Huh? So it was. Chupke, chupke raat din aasu bahana yaad hai.
See, after that, my wife was quiet, always staying upset, keeping within herself. Especially when we went to weddings. I used to come back all happy, jolly, and she was silent. One day I asked her and she burst open. "Don't tell me you don't know." "Don't know what? If you don't tell me, I don't know." "Wasn't she there then? Your fairy queen." How should I know? See, because Shagufta took up parda a few years after her marriage. So then how would I know if she was there or not? Huh?
So the Ben, he used to meet her at all the weddings.
Not meet, but obviously at community weddings. Huh? If it's a relative on my side is marrying a relative on her side, then, you know, she would be there. In the early days, we were at a wedding gig. She wasn't in Parda then. And she particularly asked for a special request. It was a message to me. Trying to...
It was your song, no? Khilte ye gul yahan.
Some romantic number. Yeah, maybe it was that one. खिल के बिछड़ने को मिलते हैं दिल यहाँ. What was she trying to say to me?
Yeah, Shashi Kapoor sang that song.
Kishore Kumar was the playback, and what a voice, a legend. You know, film heroes get all the recognition.
Shashi was my heartthrob. He looked so gorgeous in that green leather jacket and red polo. Sharmili, wasn't it? The film. I mean, he really let himself go in the later years. Moto Jado. Why do men get like that in their prime? Huh?
What was she trying to say to me? Flowers bloom only to wilt. Hearts meet only to separate.
I'll call it female intuition, but I'm sure she meant the other verse. Kal rahe na rahe मौसम ये प्यार का चाल पर जो आज मिले प्यार में गुजार दे. Something. You should have grabbed the moments you had. That's what she was trying to say to you.
We hardly touched all the time I knew her. I would clasp her hand, steal a kiss. and she would run her fingers through my hair. It was enough, with the promise of more.
Always the promise of more. Now I go for a hot stone massage instead.
You know, once I had told her I could tell it was still bugging my wife. She was trying to look out for Shagufta everywhere, but Shagufta was in Parda all the time. But I could tell from her eyes. If she was there and there's 10 other people, I could tell her by her eyes.
ये रेशमी जुल्फे, ये शरबती आंखें, इन्हें देख कर जी रहे हैं अभी.
You know, whenever I saw her, I know that she glowed as if I touched her with my gaze. She had a disastrous marriage, Bhuchar. Everybody knew. Her husband walked away many years back. But I know she had never forgotten me. What was that line, Manjuban? Mere hot dabana or something like that. Even Google couldn't help me. Something like, my lips pressed with unspoken words.
Dabana is more like pushed, not pressed. Like someone is forcing your lips shut.
She's no more, Manjuban. Shagufta is no more.
I'm sorry. I didn't know.
My missus was with the sisters who did her ritual bathing. She saw and touched Shagufta more intimately than I ever even dreamed of. You know, when she comes home from performing the ghusl, she's always quiet and only her nasheeds can comfort her. But that day, there was silence. And we both knew. No more words were spoken between us on the matter. You know, Shagufta's husband came back to weep crocodile tears at her janaza, accepting sincere condolences. His eyes were only on the house. She was the fairy queen. She deserved to be adored, not just from afar.
You know that song, Tara Zameen Par? That Maa Wala song? You know, when it comes on the TV, I just switch off the channel. Because if touches a person, it's my mother. I still miss her. Physical hugs, how loving she was. Her life belonged to others. She loved to feed people. She was an amazing woman. You know, when we had guests, they were looked after first. People used to come from Dar es Salaam on a ship because my parents were in Dar es Salaam for a long time. They used to bring huge trunks and stay, not 1 month, 2 months, sometimes 6 months at a time. You know, my mother, she looked after them so much. We felt left out. She always said, guests are number one. And I am now the same, always the same. Guests come first and my husband says, I leave him out. Hey, you got the envelope, huh? I sent you with the Rakhi. It's just a plain thread this year.
Yeah. That is better. It is more subtle than the usual blingy ones that you like.
You couldn't even imagine, huh? We have to do this on Zoom. I wish I could tie it for you.
Arey, it's okay. I can do it for myself.
And you have something to sweeten your mouth?
A block of my favorite fruit and nut. At least COVID has spared me having a whole laddu stuffed in my mouth like you usually do. 1 second.
Imagine I'm feeding you with my blessing. And you always wipe away the red tilak on your forehead anyway, so we can leave it out this time.
See, Manjuban, at least the Rakhi thread I can cover with my sleeve. But a red dot on my forehead is like a red rag to some brothers.
That I'm trying to convert you by adopting you as an honorary brother. Huh? Are Farid Bhai, it's the first time last summer that our community felt divided. I mean, what Modi does in Kashmir, what does that have to do with us in Luton, huh? You remember those boys? They came in the trucks. Don't buy from Hindu clothes. Don't buy Hindi cinema. Don't, Hindi this, Hindi that.
They were from outside Luton, Manjuban. They came to make trouble. See, us Lutonians, we will stand together like we always have. And look how we marked Guru Nanak's birthday as an interfaith communities, by welcoming the Sikhs in our mosque and our annual peace walk.
Yes. We have rallied together with all this coronavirus.
But people are still very quick to point the finger at us, even blaming us Muslims for spreading COVID. And who is crowding on beaches now and in the pubs? See, Manjuban, you need to understand that when Muslims in India are treated so badly, we are bound to feel it deeply. Your own city, Ahmedabad, has the largest slums where our people are forced to live. The anger can erupt.
For me, Raksha Bandhan is not symbolic. It is symbolic. It's not religious or political. It's marking the deep connection between siblings, blood or chosen. My sister's touch will keep you safe.
And I will give you 20 pounds when we meet. Or a new shawl. Sorry, inflation has not caught up.
I always give it to charity anyway. Just give it to a good cause.
Hey, Manjuban, you remember when our parents used to make us listen to ghazals at these endless mehfil concerts and all we wanted to do was listen to latest Bollywood releases?
And for me, I had to sing Gandhiji's bhajans at the temple. Now I love them. Raghupati Raghav Rajaram Patita Pavan Sitaram.
The singer would just begin the refrain of Kaise guzar gayi hai Javani na poochiye, and you could see the elders in the audience swaying. It's on YouTube now. Their eyes moist. Because he's breaking their hearts about their lost youth. Dil ro raha hai kyun, ye kahani na poochiye.
It's an old story, long past.
No, don't get me wrong, Manjuban. I love my missus. Her touch is tender, and we embrace each other's familiar folds.
They call it love handles. Your wife is a saint, for accepting our bond. Go home and hold her tight.
We've lived our lives, Manjuban. I feel sorry for the young. Cooped in, what are they going to do? We married young, had children young. Will our children even live to see their grandchildren?
Who said, don't assume your children will be less resourceful than you?
Probably your Gandhiji. You're always quoting him.
Anyway, my son, he does his workouts in the garden. Duolingo to learn French when he can't even speak Gujarati.
I think we were young when we emigrated here. We settled, got jobs, put the children in school, eventually properties, and life is gone. Here we are, pensioners coming to lunch clubs.
You should get there earlier. Do my keep fit sessions before eating the lunch, ne? Let's hope the clubs open up soon.
It's not safe yet.
When we were young, we were so worried about how we would appear to the beholder. And now I look at the photos of our youth and I see how beautiful we were. If only we had seen that, we might have lived with more abandon, touched and received more.
Youth is wasted on the young.
That's not your original thought either. Who said that?
I think George Bernard Shaw.
Ask Google.
Ask Google. Hey, Manjuban, when this is over, let's have a big mehfil. Catch up with the old gang, play Antakshari together in person, not on Zoom. Sing the golden oldies again.
एक प्यार का नगमा है, मौजों की रवानी है,
जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है. That was our song, Shagufta and mine. What is life but your and my story?
Teri Meri Kahani, the story of you and me.
Sudha Ben, you can tell our kissa, but please change the names.
But she's given you the form, no? Make sure you tick anonymous.
I will, yes, I will, but there's more. So much more I haven't told you.
कुछ पाकर खोना है, कुछ खोकर पाना है, जीवन का मतलब तो आना और जाना है, दो पल के जीवन से एक उम्र चुरानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी मेरी कहानी है, एक प्यार का नगमा है, मौजों की रवानी है, जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं, तेरी
Father the soap, palm to palm, fingers interlaced, scrubby, scrubby, scrubby. Rotational rubbing of thumb with thumb, rotational rubbing of palms. Just let me get a flour out of my nails. Rinse. Oh, it's the longest 20 seconds, isn't it? It was the little one who said, "Nana, you look like an alien." Well, I looked in the mirror. I had my white mask on, glasses all steamed up, dupatta over my head, ears sticking out. Well, it's not as if Nana's trying to attract an admirer at my age, beta. Why? Because Nanaji loves you, even though you're an alien. Yeah, I said, Nanaji loves me. So now I wear this butterfly mask. Makes the grandchildren laugh, feels soft on my face. Well, you don't want COVID to leave the children with fearful memories, do you? They can't always get hugs and kisses, but you want to keep up a happy atmosphere. One of these sisters, Fozia Baji, she makes them. She's got 5 children at home, but she still stays up till 3 a.m. sewing these on a singer. People want to do something, don't they, to help? She's got a black belt in karate. Who can fight COVID? I bought a red silk paisley one for their Nanaji, but he won't wear it. The only good thing about lockdown was that I could catch my breath for 5 minutes. You could sit in the garden and look, like really look at the butterflies. Is it me or are there more of them? Like the rats, hungry from the restaurants being closed for so long. Painted ladies are the best. Do you know they've traveled all the way from the deserts of Africa via Asia to get here? Long distant migrants like our families. The patterns on their wings are more beautiful than the silks in my brother's shop window. I said to him, Rehan, can't you just magnify these and make me a nice Eid Jura? Mom always said, Bachpan mein titliyon ki tarah azad udte the. Girls ran free like a butterfly till puberty hit, and that was it. How much freedom you had after marriage, well, that was down to your kismet. She was 18 when she got married, 19 when she had me. She was built like a man, strong and sturdy with broad shoulders. I take after her, but I'm Luton born and bred. She cut meat in the shop, drove the van to Smithfields. My passion for food comes from Dad. He was the instinctive cook. Mum was dal chawal. his biryani is legendary. I'm the custodian of that recipe now. I was at primary school. You know, little, I would stand up on a milk bottle crate to help. Burn marks all up my arms. Never felt any pain. When Mum went young, I grew up fast. It was instant. Hit and run. The meat bled in the back of the van and they cut her out from the front. First time I'd seen a dead body. Mum in her open casket, wrapped in her coffin. 5 sheets of white cloth. The sisters, volunteers at the mosque, they'd done her ghusl. Now I'm a volunteer myself. I know how they would have silently washed the blood from her open wounds and tenderly glued them, believing as we do that Mum could feel their touch. Then, when we were just children, my brothers huddled in Dad's arms, not wanting to touch the body. The sisters coaxing me, "Ami hai, beta, dua karo, khuda hafiz karo." I kissed her cold forehead, and they promised that we would be reunited with Mum in paradise, that this was a separation and not a final goodbye. Then Dad had his moment. The sisters led us aside, but from the corner of my eye, I could see how tightly he held her, how he kissed and stroked her face. The sisters prayed for Mum's soul in whispered voices, covered her face and set her off into her next journey. Like a butterfly, I too had roamed free, but there was no more playing on the street after tea every night till dark. Touch seems to me a strange phenomenon to study. These days, it's don't touch that seems to be the big message. Touch evokes for me like a parent to a child. When I was teaching at primary school, if the kids needed a hug, they got a hug. This huge 11-year-old, he's in prison now, he'd come and sit on my lap. Well, he didn't get that at home. It was never inappropriate. You have the children for many more hours than the parents. You're in loco parentis, aren't you? Like I was with my brothers, in the place of Mum, never taking her place. From making basic everyday handi, I became more adventurous. We couldn't eat fish and chips because they use lard, which is not halal. So I made my own masala fish with besan and not beer batter. I watched food programs on Channel 4, recreated school dinners. Baked tarts. I remember having my mouth forced open at the age of 5 in school to eat grated cheese. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was grated egg. Well, now it's a staple at home. I enjoy doing things for other people. I could stand on one leg all night if I thought it was going to help another person. I use my hands for everything. I mean, you don't see Gordon Ramsay using gloves, do you? You can't fill samosas and pasties with gloves. Shami kebabs, you know, they're a particular texture. Aloo tikki the same. If your fingers don't touch and mold, you're not going to get the same finish. Now I cook for people at home. They order basic everyday curries, samosas, Ramzan treats like jalebis. They'll say, "Has Nazra Baji made these?" Unke haath mein to lazzat hai. That I have taste in my fingers, my hands. Now with all this washing though, it's like crocodile skin and I'm losing the sensitivity in my fingers. Touch shows caring. Now, I think of touch as positive, even having experienced negative. One of the uncles used to ask my brothers and me to go and play with his boys on a weekend after Mum to console us. The boys would be kicking a football out in the garden and he touched my shoulders and he said, "God only puts on your shoulders what you can bear better." That's how it started. That Nadia Hussein's from Luton. came as a big shock when she came out about her abuse and all the buried trauma, how she had suffered panic attacks, PTSD. She wanted to kill herself when she was 10. Not wanting to live the life that she had, not liking the life that she had. Well, there was no Nadia speaking up for me when I was growing up. She said baking saved her, or maybe feeding people saved me. When Fareed, my husband, started working in community mental health, he would come home upset about some case or the other. If only children would speak up. I agreed. If only children could speak up. My husband's secret is an open book that he should have kept shut, but mine will go to the grave with me. When my abuser moved out of the area, I just blocked it out. Then, a few years later, I came across him. I was about 15, shopping in Bury Park, all smiles. What are you celebrating, Beta? I dropped the box of laddus in my hand and just froze. That's when the flashback started. I inverted myself, shrunk into my coat for years. Dad's sisters, our pupos, they used to hug and kiss us. Dad showed his love through food. I mean, if he smacked you, you got a soft, sweet rasgulla, pure white treat to show his remorse. Touch. It's a wholesome feeling. I opened myself to it again, how to give it, receive it. My own nature came through. Culturally, Islamically, you're not supposed to touch the opposite sex, but a same-sex touch, that is something different. It's the very opposite of English stiff upper lip. I love how men hug each other, like full, tight embraces. I hug my son's best friend as if he was my child. My daughter and son, they're nightmares, they're huge. They'll come in, push me between them. They're both married with children. Son lives with us. Daughter still comes and sits on my lap. I can't breathe. We all get caught up in the hug. Yeah, I had an arranged marriage. Well, you know, I expected it. Fareed and I are distant blood relations. Our great-grandfathers, they were brothers. They built houses next door to each other, the shared yard. They're descendants from the generals who fought for the Mughals, marauded and awarded with land. We met a few times in Pakistan on holiday, children. Fareed would come from Kenya. I remember he had a lovely singing voice then even. Yeah, he used to sing that song, Malaika, in Swahili, to wind up the rellies who said he was an African. I worshipped the ground that he walked on. I was so happy when he chose me. At my rukhsati, when the bride leaves home for the last time, Dad, he just held me tightly, just cried. Genuine breakdown emotion. And then he went back to standing still every time you try and touch him. 20 odd years into marriage, I made the mistake of telling Fareed that I was happy he had chosen me. Like a good hand in rummy, confessions should be kept close to your chest at our age. I wasn't expecting his answer, that he had first lost his heart to someone else. Bury Park, it's heaving outside. You know, even with all the barriers and bollards, people just don't seem bothered. They think it's all over. There's no on-off switch, is there? Let's just switch COVID off. We've got this thing in our heads that we're indispensable. If I'm not here doing something, sorry, the world kept turning. We just got pinged off it for a while. People started working at home. The Goras hoarded loo rolls. We had our lotas. Amazon didn't stop, did they? The lad next door, he's keeping Randeep from losing his job. I asked him, what is in these brown packages you're delivering there every day? Get this, latest, rose petals. I see. Essentials then, obviously. This click and collect generation, they wouldn't have survived the World War II scenario. People just I want to be normal, but too many of us have seen something different. I was ill. I still can't smell or taste anything, so I reckon it was COVID. I'm religious, so I thought it was meant to be so that afterwards I could help at the mosque. It was unlike anything any of us have ever seen. There were 12 deceased in the first week of COVID alone. 16 in the next. That's just one mosque, not even the whole of Luton. Constantly in a state of emergency. Initially, like everywhere, the deceased were buried in the clothes that they went to the hospital in. Some body bags unopened without the last rites performed. But our mosque acted fast. They got in the PPE, full cleaning equipment, appropriate cleaning. I've done the ritual washing for years. First time was an African lady. We didn't have any relatives. She died so far away from home, I could picture her for days afterwards. Usually it's the family that do the bathing and we just guide. Then you never see them again. Maybe shopping in the town. You become immune. Distance yourself. But when the deceased were coming in with intubation still in, cannulas, catheters, we were not allowed to take them out. That is the first time I felt distressed. We sisters just stood in our full PPE and everyone was crying behind their visors. That's when the anger rose in me. Should have been a solid lockdown right from the get-go. You know, people talk about taking responsibility for war crimes. They should get Boris for COVID crimes. I would go home after. The grandchildren would come running, but until you stripped off your clothes, washed, showered, you can't go anywhere near them. When I made the sharbat to break our Ramazan fast, I would bash the ice with a hammer. But when they brought her in, I was calm. The body bag was sort of hanging off her. First we thought, it was a child, a teenager. Shagufta. I knew it was her from her name and her eyes. There was a dark green tinge in the brown. We lifted her with our equipment, but she was so light. Silently washed her, turning her over gently. Usually we shampoo the hair and then we take every stray strand and wrap it in with the deceased. But she'd lost all her hair from everywhere. Her body was soft and bare like a newborn child. We cut the bangles off her thin wrists and gave them to her daughters. But they wanted to leave her diamond nose stud in. It was glinting in the light on her beautiful face as we poured warm water from head to toe. The temperature has to be right. They say the body feels more when the soul is gone. The girls kiss their mother's feet. We believe paradise is found at the feet of your mother. And after we wrapped her in her shroud, we said a small prayer. Allah Miya, Shagufta Baji ki kabar mein noor basana, kabar ko roshan karna. Asking forgiveness for her that she is granted a good hereafter. Patience for the family to endure. May she see light in her grave. Then we recited the Surah Fatiha. It was fallopian cancer. Silent killer. Why had I let Shagufta occupy my thoughts for all these years, as if she was a rival? Now, when I had touched her, I knew that I had washed away her innocence, not her sins. We sisters have a pact, respecting confidentiality. We don't discuss what we've seen, what we've smelled. I have this recurring nightmare that goes quiet for years, but it always comes back with a vengeance. That there is a body buried underneath the floorboards, tightly wrapped in black bin liners. Then out of the blue, one day, water just starts pouring from under the floor. I tried to persuade Fareed not to call the plumbers, but he's adamant. Like, how are we going to stop the flooding otherwise? Now they are coming to dig up the floorboards and stop the leak. They will find it. They will find the body, find me out, and arrest me. I wake up petrified. It's so real. I don't know who it is. Who have I murdered, Fareed? It's no one, Meri Jaan. Just a bad dream. Meri Jaan. When he calls me Meri Jaan, I know that I am his life and he is mine. We should all talk more. Our mental health is fragile. I'm going to put that on my list, my training requirements at the mosque. I told Rehan, my brother, you got to order me those sheets of white cloth so I have my coffin pack ready. Soap with no smell. Because you don't know when your time is right, do you? You don't know when you're going to go. Our time of life is specified. Death is fixed. But we have the reassurance of the life hereafter, when we will be close to our Creator, who will bestow his mercy and majesty upon us and reunite us with our loved ones. So let's cherish the good times. I've got a mental list of people that I'm going to give hugs to when all this is over. We're all joking that post-COVID is the new inshallah. 5 years down the line, we will gather and share stories about this time. Do you remember when we had Ramadan in lockdown? When we hugged by touching elbows? Do you remember when the butterflies came and danced?
It started with hats, but my heart was always in fashion. I was studying for City and Guilds in clothing technology, and I did a project in hats. TVAM showed my design, and the hat factory offered me work experience. And then they gave me a job. They used to make hats for the Queen, Princess Diana, and loads of rich people. I was the designer's assistant. You know, Sudha, I remember running in the corner shop to try and grab a copy of the brand new edition of Vogue after Prince Andrew's wedding so that I could see pictures of Princess Diana wearing that blue hat with polka dots in it. I mean, I couldn't afford the magazine, but I wanted a memento of that design. The first one I helped to make. You know, I would do the cutting prep from looking at the scripts and get everything ready for them for the actual hat. Don't quote this, but I remember I quietly cut the polka dots on that hat just slightly bigger, as I knew they would set off the dots on her dress better. Now, the designer got the credit, but I was happy. You know how secretive the fashion industry is, Sudha. No one's supposed to know anything, but basically, we used to know what royalty are going to be wearing. Yeah. We knew the colors and the idea, you know, the materials they were using. Princess Diana could carry off any design. Bowlers and berets, sailor hats and pillboxes, wide rims with bird cages, veils or ribbons and dramatic colors, all accessorized with pearls and chokers. I'll always remember her. Like, she had a big head size. That we had a special block for her. She had a big size. You share the same birthday as her, Sudha? No kidding. July 1st. No, your head size looks fine. You know, my favorite design for her was a turban look in that Arab lapis color, like the Blue Mosque in Istanbul. She wore it with her sapphire and diamond earrings when she toured Dubai. You remember? Prince William gave Kate the matching ring for their engagement, isn't it? Maybe even the earrings as well. Princess Diana's spirit must have rubbed off on her because Kate wore those beautiful salwar kameezes when she toured Pakistan. Did you see the pictures? That was Diana's touch. Our people's princess, extending a hand of friendship between countries by wearing appropriate clothing. You know, like in New Zealand, when the Prime Minister and all the ladies wore dupattas over their heads to show solidarity after the mosque shootings. Seeing photos of all those beautiful yards of fabrics on ladies' head, it was like the Muslim communities were being wrapped in a warm embrace after the huge loss. Headscarves for harmony, they called it. Cloth for comfort. If Princess Diana was alive, she would have found a way to touch COVID patients, cut through the fear, and she would have started a trend in masks. It was tragic when she died. Really tragic. You know, some people around here believe that the royal firm couldn't bear her being in love with a Muslim, so they... I mean, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. Like the idiots around here who think that coronavirus is a hoax. I felt deeply for Prince William and Harry when they walked dry-eyed behind her coffin at her funeral. No one even held their hands. I was about 6 when Mum died, also in a car accident. And now, at 30, I wanted to reach out and say, it's okay, boys. It's okay not to cry. They will come. The tears will come. When Nazra Baji held me and my brother, the floodgates opened for us. A child herself, but she was our older sister, so she brought us up, really. Dad was broken. Like, he didn't have a Camilla waiting in the wings like Prince Charles. I mean, he didn't even look at anyone else. No one. Baji says it was because of Mum that I got into fashion. I would open Mum's wardrobe and leaf through her clothes, hoping by magic that she would appear from deep inside the cupboard, or that I could be transported to another world like in those Narnia stories, or to heaven, where everyone said Mum was waiting. But I didn't want to die before I lived. You know, Mum's wooden almari was full of mostly functional shalwar kameezes in man-made fabrics and bright colors, with matching cardigans and dupattas that she would pick up at the markets. Pop socks, long johns, and flat shoes. Easy wash and wear to suit her hard Luton life. It was when I opened her special trousseau trunk that she brought from Kashmir that I discovered the fineries among the mothballs, and then one by one, I matched the outfits that lay folded inside to her wedding photos in an old album, piecing her together like a jigsaw. The yellow cotton jora that she wore at her tail function when they rubbed the bride's face with flour and turmeric to make her look fair and make her skin glow. And then her leaf green lenga for the Mendi night. And her red and gold rukhsati jora. Mum's face was hidden by a heavily embroidered veil in the photo. Yeah, Mum was strong and tough. But as a bride, even she looked delicate. Baji had most of the memories. She let me touch the clothes carefully and told us stories about Mum. How she was free-spirited as a child and a bad cook, that she would burn her dal and her khichdi would be soggy. The opposite of Baji's food. All I remembered was me and my brother sitting on Baji's lap and feeding us Farley's rusk, playing at being Mum. Dad sent our brother to boarding school in Pakistan. He wanted one of us to be an Afsar in the army like his ancestors had been for the Mughal Empire. Baijan was older than me, so he pulled a short straw, and I was lucky enough to stay in Luton with Nazira Baji. He even got married there, and Dad would spend months in Pakistan and called me to experience the life there too. Look for a good wife like your Baijan's Bha. I enjoyed the village, especially talking to Mum's sisters and Khalas about her. They all had wonderful stories and missed her. You know, I found out that she was called Gule Rana, sweet-smelling rose, because of her pink cheeks as a baby, which was her nishan, like her signature. From running free around the mountains, eating fruit picked off orchards and washed in waterfalls. Years later, I named my shop after her. Gule Rana, sweet-smelling rose. Oh, I got married to Nafisa there and stayed there for about a year. When I needed to bring her over for a visa because it was due, I had to prove I had a job. So on Dad's advice, I joined Vauxhall, designed car seats for them and patterns for their car seats. Being loyal, I stayed for 14 years till it closed. Then I did a pattern cutting course and achieved distinctions. Baijan had come back to Luton, breaking Dad's heart. His dream for one of his sons to have a privileged life in Pakistani army uniform remained unfulfilled. Baijan, though, stayed aloof from us. The lost years apart were hard to recapture. Only Baji managed to reach him through her food and her sister's touch. Then 9/11 happened. Everywhere I was going, my interviews were really good. They liked my work, but nobody was willing to give me a job. That was a bit, obviously I had a beard and they probably thought, oh no, here comes another one. You know how it was at the time. You got the negative, right? So I started from scratch. I had the passion for design, but no idea how to run a business. I wanted to be like a bit of a mixture of traditional, a bit of East and West, and Islamic. And that wasn't there at the time. I designed ready-made Islamic wear and sold loose material. English designer prints, roses and paisley. Oh, they're classic and popular. I wanted to fill my shop with roses and paisley so people could come directly to me and say, Uncle, can I make a kurta or kameez in these prints? And I'd say, why not? There's no law against that. Lots of, for example, young sisters would see clothes in Debenhams and M&S and designer shops and want to wear similar things. The problem was deep necklines, short sleeves, and they still had to wear layers. So I would buy the same prints and they would have them made up in long kameezes with matching dupattas, salwar or chust pajama. I've seen a sister around here, like in a Liberty print kameez made with long side slits and wide culotte Sudha. And she was in the town center and you could see she wanted to show it off. And people were really appreciating it. I enjoyed that. It's a blend. It's my personal touch, buying shawls from one place, materials from another, and weaving ideas together for the shop front. So much fun. People love to touch fabric, huh? Velvet and silk. They're sensory, they evoke memories. Natural materials are expensive and most people in Luton are happy wearing man-made. So we stock all sorts: polyester, wool, cotton, silks, fancy velvet, which is more decorative for function wear, but the way I display it, even traditional materials don't look blingy. If there's a plain material, I add buttons or motifs or pick out colors from the embroidery that people think clash, but can contrast beautifully. Like burnt orange and purple, or sunflower yellow and linen. Velvet with flowers is lovely. Navy blue looks typical, but with a red embroidered dupatta, jhumke and bangles, it's gonna be eye-catching. You know, I find treasure in corners of the warehouse that no one else goes to. I love that even when three sisters will buy the same fabric, they look completely different. One will wear it as a garara, another as a long kurta, and the third will drape it as a shawl over a plain suit. And they'll ask me, for this occasion, for that occasion, brother, does it suit me? If something's expensive and it doesn't look right, I'll tell them. If something is cheap and it looks great, I will tell them. See, I'm passionate from my heart. I will give my opinion regardless of cost. And they'll say, oh, this chiffon is see-through, or this embroidery pinches my skin. And I say, line it with silk and see how it feels then. They love it. And for me, that's fulfilling. When they say, brother, thank you so much. You know, I remember there was an auntie Sudha that came with her daughter, and she wasn't choosing anything new for Eid. She was sad. Her son had died on Hajj this year earlier. We all wish to go, but not too soon. So I comforted her. You're a lucky mum khala. You gave birth to someone who died while he was doing pilgrimage in Makkah. I gently told her that he would want her to mark Eid and wear something new in his memory. COVID has hit us hard, Sudha. Businesses are clothing. New clothes are surplus to requirement. Oh, people will still come. They'll look, they'll touch, they'll plan celebrations again. I love this chiffon, brother. Well, let me show you all the colors. I'll come another time. Maybe what you're looking for, we won't have the next time. You will have another combination, inshallah. Touch is important for happiness, well-being. I mean, we are all human at the end of the day. Same feelings, same needs. As a family, we're there for each other. My kids are there for me and I accommodate their needs. You love them, isn't it? Oh, they cry a little bit and you pick them up, especially the first one. Make sure nothing is wrong. I was there at the birth. Took Nafisa to hospital. Stayed with her. This teaches you as well the beauty of our culture. You know, they say for one contraction that a mother feels, a child will never be able to pay that back. Do you understand the meaning of that? By experiencing in front of your eyes matters of life and death. Nazra Baji taught us. You know, when she requested for me to order the cloth for her coffin, at first I didn't want to know. She reminded me, you have to be ready, but still live for today. I opened Mum's trunk today after a long time for my daughter, Zara. She's back from teaching in Birmingham. Her lectures are all online and she didn't want to get stuck up there with her students, locked in. We looked at her Dadi Jan's clothes for ideas. Her eyes fell on Mum Rose's pink garara, which she wore with a brown and gold paisley shawl around her shoulders for her nikah ceremony with Dad. Zara wants me to adapt it for her, to wear at her school friend Sophia's engagement. A vintage modern look Abu that goes with my blue acrylic nails. They had lost touch for a while, but they reconnected. Sophia said yes to that lad, Hamza. You know, everyone follows him on Instagram. Desi cake lover. Rumor has it he won her over with his Persian love cake. Oh. The invites had gone out, an intimate gathering with 30 people, but now Boris has announced that we can only meet 6. So the function is on Zoom. The garara was ready, transformed into wide-legged trousers with a long-sleeved kameez, ruched at the wrist like cloth bangles. What's the point of getting dressed up now, Abu? The young ones were looking forward to a party in the garden. I consoled her. Post-COVID, they'll set up a date better for a big wedding and all the ladies will come to me for new jodas, inshallah. You know, I reminded Zara that her Dadi and Dada Jan got married on the telephone. Mum dressed up in her village for all the wedding functions, but her groom did not come on his horse with his procession. No. She answered, Kabule, 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 when the Maulvi asked her if she accepted his hand. And her fate was sealed with her yeses. She boarded the plane to Luton alone as a married woman who had never seen her husband. I mean, he too had chosen her from a photo. She looked like Meena Kumari. Alhamdulillah, they were lucky in love for the first time when they were given together. You know, when I was young, back in them days, I used to do many jobs, multiple jobs, so I could save up and go and watch films on Sundays. Odeon and ABC Luton, double bill of new Bollywood releases. I used to know about all the actors and actresses, buy all the magazines. You know, Meena Kumari's clothes in Pakiza still inspires me to this day. You had that too in Tooting, Sudha. We used to take samosas and buy a Coke if we had money left. I remember. I was in the car in Pakistan being driven to my wedding, and that song from Pakiza was playing. Mausam hai ashikana. No. I am not going to sing it when you're recording. She's going to meet her love, and I was getting married, traveling in the car. She says something like, my heart from somewhere, bring my lover closer to me. It expresses your hopes, that song. You know, Sudha, your partner is your destiny. And mine has given me everything I could ever have wanted.
मौसम है आशिकाना, ऐ दिल कहीं से उनको ऐसे में ढूंढ लाना, ऐसे में ढूंढ लाना. मौसम है आशिकाना, कहना कि रुत जवा है और हम तरस रहे हैं, काली घटा के साए फिर हमको डस रहे हैं. डर है ना मार डाले सावन का क्या ठिकाना, सावन का क्या ठिकाना. मौसम है आशिकाना, ऐ दिल कहीं से उनको ऐसे में ढूंढ लाना, ऐसे में ढूंढ लाना. आशिक.
And that was the Touchstone Tales to Monologue Showcase, the Revolution Arts and Welcome Collection co-commission as part of Bury Park's Revolution Arts Bury Park residency. A huge thanks to Sudha, Sagar, Reena, Amit and Javjeet for the amazing performances and being able to share such beautiful stories in an amazing way. Thank you so much. So we are now going to have a short Q&A session. Just to mention, we have overrun slightly, so we're aiming to finish the event today at 9:15, so it's just to let you know. Hopefully you are all free to stay with us because we'd love to hear your thoughts, comments and any questions that you have for the artists as part of this project. So please do keep your cameras off. I'll begin by asking a question obviously to our brilliant team of actors and performers, so if they can all please turn their cameras on, so then we are all here together. Fantastic. So hopefully all the audience will be able to see all the panelists which are part of this Q&A session. You can obviously already start posting any comments or questions that you have, and I will do my best to go through them. But please, if you do have a specific question for somebody, please just put that in the chat so I know who to aim that to. So we've got, well, I'm pleased to introduce to you the project director of Revolution Arts, Jenny Williams, to hopefully share her first reactions and some words for us, please. And I guess the first question that comes to mind is, so Revolution Arts is an Arts Council funded creative people and places project, which is based in Luton. Why has the Touch Commission been so important?
Well, I think tonight's performance speaks for itself, and I just wanted to say a huge congratulations to Sudha and her fabulous creative team and everybody that's worked on it. On stage Zoom, can we call it that?
Yeah.
And backstage Zoom for what was an absolutely beautiful and profoundly stunning performance. And I know the chat is absolutely on fire at the moment. And yes, just to say that this has been an extraordinary experience to be on, and it's been important for Revolution for a number of reasons. We're an arts company based in Luton, and our mission is to tell stories of local people, local folks, and bring them onto a national platform. And I don't think that we could have done anything better through this commission. And it's been so important on a number of levels. We've partnered with this co-commission with Welcome Collection, which has been fantastic, but also partnered with Sudha. And I just wanted this moment to recognise that, because today was a culmination of a year, you know. And last October, we sat together in a room in Bury Park and talked about what this could be. And it feels like it was a lifetime away. And I said to Sudha, and you're going to hate me for saying this again, but I said, you know, the possibilities of bringing world-class, creative, artistic talent right into the heart of our communities to co-create, to reflect stories, our most powerful assets, will be an extraordinary journey, and it has been. And the work that you have produced of telling the stories back of people that live, work, shop in Bury Park has been a beautiful testament and a living archive of our most extraordinary of times. And tonight's performance has just shown how vital, how important artists are, creativity is, and communities are. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you to everyone.
So much.
Jenny, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Well,
Jenny.
thank you for inviting me to apply for this incredible residency. And, you know, I don't think we could have imagined, could we? Because, you know, when you said to me, when COVID happened, you were like, okay, right, we're taking it online, girl. I was just like, I am the wrong person to take anything online. But no, thank you, Jenny. It's been extraordinary.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey, I think, that we've been on. And actually, so that just to maybe, my next question will be to you, but maybe after I read out some of the comments. So we've got Madiha saying bravo, and that she's blown away by this production, so innovative and fresh. Thank you so much, Madiha. Carol saying very moving, congratulations to all. Poppy, I've never experienced anything like that. It was a light in the dark. Thank you so much for the comments. I'll share a few more as we go along. But so how was the experience of exploring the theme of touch from like pre-lockdown to now?
Well, you know, obviously we had, you know, this commission ran concurrently with the touch test survey. So for me, you know, that was very much like a template. I did the survey myself, you know, so I found out the sort of themes that we were looking at. And, you know, you've been on this journey with me right the way through. So, you know, in the beginning, we did physically, I would come to Luton. We tried, you know, we'd go to the lunch clubs, the wellbeing groups, to a school, you know, many places, all the shopkeepers. And you know, I've started working a lot from self-portraits and, you know, believing that whole thing that people, Anna Devere Smith, one of the artists I really admire, you know, she says everyone has literature inside them. And I totally do believe that. You know, I'm not one of these writers. Actually, I have no imagination. I couldn't sit in a room and write without that impetus. And then obviously when COVID happened and we started doing the workshops online, but also one of the themes of the touch test is the whole absence of touch. And it became very, very visceral, you know, exploring that. But I think also Zoom and, you know, it has also allowed people to come together. You know, like I remember we had this mothers and daughters workshop, and we may not have got all those people physically in a room together, you know, and one of the mothers said that she felt that it was like a bonding with her daughter, as well as meeting other mothers and daughters. So it's through all that work that, you know, we've managed to do something like this. And a wonderful creative team. You know, my partner, Christine Landon-Smith from Tamasha Days, you know, her practice is also very, very, you know, we work very well together like that. And the, you know, wonderful actors, Sagar, Reena, Amit, and Japs, the singer, you know, it's just been an amazing, amazing team.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, you know, the fact that you've mentioned, I mean, it has been a journey because we literally did start from pre-lockdown. And obviously, as you said, we, you know, as Luton Arts said, right, we're going digital. But the fact that we've been able to continue that engagement, and I think that kind of intimate, safe space, you know, even online, I think has been really important. And definitely, I think, you know, being able to, I think, create work from that and be able to share stories and create a platform like this is definitely testament to, like you said, the whole creative team. So you mentioned Chris, so I'll bring Chris on now. So Christine Landon-Smith is the director of the monologues. So obviously, just like we mentioned now, we were able to adapt Touchstone Tales for a digital showcase. Now, what opportunities or challenges do you think lockdown has provided for the arts?
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, that's very complex. I mean, I think what has been quite extraordinary is the way that artists have not been sort of beaten down by this, and that they have, you know, it's been their impulse and their instinct to find ways to keep creating, because that's what we do and we need that expression. You know, Zoom, most of us have gone on Zoom. That was not a platform that was set up for this sort of thing, but Zoom itself has adapted and tried realizing what Zoom realizing what it needed to do for the various people that were using it, has also adapted quite quickly. And I just think it shows this sort of, this you know, that artists will constantly look for how to invent, how to reinvent, how to keep up, how to keep creating. And we've done that on Zoom, and we've all learnt on the job. I mean, all of us have learnt on the job. So, you know, we've been working on Zoom, but we're learning on the job. And I must say, I've been quite amazed by what we have collaboratively, I mean, it's a very collaborative endeavor, what we've been able to achieve on a Zoom platform. So yeah, look, maybe it suits our personalities. We are all, you know, we do adapt. We're used to adapting, and we do adapt. It's definitely not ideal. It's not something I would recommend going forward in terms of, you know, what we want. I mean, to be face to face in a rehearsal room with people is again the ultimate. But I think for those of us who can and want to keep sort of adapting, I think, you know, artists, we've done well out of this. You know, we've tried our best, and I hope we've made offers that have been of enormous, you know, interest to people, and I hope they've touched people. I think this work has touched people, certainly.
Yeah, definitely. No, I absolutely agree with you. We've got a message from Carol saying fantastic creativity has come out of this crisis. Artists have shown just how much can be done online, on Zoom, particularly with monologues. Terrific intimacy can be achieved. Artists are so creative, imaginative, and viable. Yeah, that's an important one, definitely in these current times to state. I think it'd be really lovely to just bring on Sagar and Reena together just as a question, because I mean, even before I say that, I mean, coming from what you said, Christine, the dress rehearsal, even before this show, I mean, I'm sure people would have loved to be a fly on the wall, because, you know, it's the nerves and some of the questions, because we're really unsure, but, you know, we're able to come together then in front of an audience and, you know, have this brilliant feedback is really heartening. But the question I have to Sagar and Reena is, how was it to perform a duologue? I mean, it's probably hard enough trying to do a monologue, but you guys were amazing. So I don't know who wants to go first with that one.
I'd love to say that it's bloody brilliant performing a duologue, and especially with someone like Reena, who I've worked with on stage before in a production, you know, which was devised by Sudha, directed by Christine. This was part of Tamasha, and it was fantastic. And as soon as I knew that it's a duologue with Reena Fatania, I said, oh, yes, absolutely. Directed by Christine. Oh, absolutely, yes. So it's fantastic. I mean, doing it on your own, if you're just, it's very strange because this is a part of this is a kind of touch as well. If I was, I mean, here I am, here are all of us sitting completely in our isolated in our own spaces. And this is what we are doing. And this is what Christine was just talking about, that we'd love to be in a rehearsal room with each other. And of course, we'd love to do that. And hopefully we'll be back there soon. But if I was doing this just looking, you know, like Sudha did it, or like Jab did it with her singing, or like Amit did it, and they all did it so brilliantly well, I think it helped me that I wasn't doing it alone, because you've got a partner. And you know, you can reach out, and that's what actors do. It's another thing that we do, that you know that somebody is faltering, or you
Oh, he's gone.
and you help, and that synergy. So I loved working in a duologue, and especially with you, Reena.
Thank you. I mean, it was definitely a pleasure. I mean, it was easy with you, Sagar. You know, like you said, we were bouncing off each other, and
Yeah.
you know, we rehearsed it a couple of times, and it didn't matter that, you know, things went differently. We worked so well, and I was thinking, God, I was watching the monologues, going, no, duologue is much easier, definitely for me. And the only thing for me, I mean, I was quite nervous. It was my first Zoom. You know, play on Zoom, really, if you like. And I was really nervous, going, why am I nervous? There's nobody here. You know, it's just me. And that is why I was so nervous.
Yeah.
We're so used to being with our fellow actors and having those group moments and then group hugs and saying, yes, everything's going to be fine. But, you know, like Christine says, we do adapt. Actors are best at adapting, and we can do well in change, even though we all want to be in our rehearsal rooms. This is where we are at the moment. But thank you, Sagar. I had a lovely time with you. Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to both
Thanks
of you.
for that.
It's such a yes, of course, and obviously for Sudha for writing it. And I'm going to pose a question from the chat to Amit. So somebody, if I have to now scroll up, so many lovely messages. Thank you. I'm just going to try to find it. So it's from Poppy saying, how do you find the truth when you have no one to act off and respond to? So I guess it's following on from what Sagar was saying as well.
That is a really, really good question. Christine will tell you, I had a conversation with her earlier this week. I said, I think for me, you know, I've been doing this a very long time, and I think this is probably the first time in all the years that I've been an actor that I felt really wide open, you know, and a little bit vulnerable, because I've always found the comfort and security in a rehearsal room. When I'm in rehearsal room, it's the safest place I'm ever in. And being in familiar surroundings of your own house and wearing your own clothes, and it was really difficult for me to engage. And I'm not going to lie, I'm being very, very honest. And I think this has probably been one of my kind of most challenging things to do. And you know, I hope I did Sudha's beautiful words justice. But yeah, finding the truth in this situation, being in your own world as opposed to the character's world, was a real challenge. Yeah, and I'm kind of all the better for it. As in, you know, I've really gained a lot from this experience. So yeah, thank you, Christine and Sudha. I think.
Thank you. No, thank you for sharing that and your vulnerabilities. I think it's so important to be able to say those things. And maybe just one last question now to Sudha. Again, it's from the chat. There's so many scenarios you can cover. How do you decide what to cover or generation to appeal to?
I mean, for me, you know, in June I did like 4 stories, which was the beginning of Touchstone Tales. Every scenario that I'm writing has come from some encounter that I had. You know, I haven't recorded everything, but I start from verbatim. So I did record some interviews, but I fictionalized obviously things. But you know, you'll have a small encounter, a snap of verbatim, and then it gives you an idea. And for this one, I've always wanted to I mean, I literally did meet two people in the lunch club where they were talking in song a little bit. But, you know, from that thing, I think this is the soundtrack of my life. You know, I've always thought that Bollywood has underscored our lives, you know. So it was connections, like someone saying to me, you know, oh, we used to go and do a double bill in Luton. I said, oh, we used to do a double bill in, you know, and things like Pakiza and things like clothes. And also when, you know, I no longer have my mum. So that whole thing of, you know, you're touching clothes and stuff. And also what I realized, you know, very beginning in this commission was, you know, our communities, we have history of coming here as migrants, being in different continents. That lack of touch was a big thing, not just for each person, but for our communities. You know, people like my mother, separated from their siblings, gone from India to Africa. So I think those kind of scenarios. And then I did sit in my garden and watch the butterflies. And I didn't, you know, somehow things just started to connect from things that I've heard, things I recorded. You know, I transcribe, I look back, and things start to happen, you know, quietly. And I hadn't planned it, but this one became interconnected people. You know, I very much wanted to do people who do the last rites ritual, which became so much more visceral after COVID. I mean, I hadn't realized that would be the case, you know, and I spoke to a volunteer who volunteered at the mosque. So there were a lot of research combined with verbatim, combined with magic that comes, you hope, and lots of staring into blank screens as well.
No, I can imagine. But, you know, it's been an amazing journey, obviously, with exploring touch and the, you know, stories that have come out of it. And obviously a big thank you to all those people that shared their stories and words with us and just trusting, you know, us with them. So definitely that's important to mention.
That's what we definitely, you know, without people sharing, coming to the workshops, being open, all of us being vulnerable together, I could not have written this, you know, just sitting in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you, Imrana, deserve a big thank you, because without you, actually, none of this could have happened. You know, your connections in Bury Park, not just that, but your heart. You know, it's that emotional labor that we talk about. Let's all acknowledge that here. You know, there's a lot of artists of color here watching this as well. You know, there's that extra you do because you feel that on your shoulders. So yes, God puts on our shoulders what we can bear.
Yes, exactly. No, thank you for that. And so that does bring us to the end of the Q&A. Just before we end, just to do a couple of very quick thank yous and to let you know what else you can look forward to. So I do want to thank Inspire FM, because they were playing the first 4 podcasts just this week in the run up to this event. And you will be able to actually hear all the monologues as podcast recordings on the Revolution Arts website, which is www.revolutionarts.com. And, you know, we've had Firdousi Jahar working with us as a as part of Revolution Arts young people's group, basically, and she had the commission, and all the images that you've seen associated with this project have come from her. So obviously a big shout out to Firdousi. Also the Pink Diamond ladies from Pink Diamond Martial Arts Club, they've been absolutely awesome on this journey with us, so thank you. I think some of them might even be in the audience today as well. And of course, last but not least, thank you to all of you in the audience who've taken out the time to join us this evening and to celebrate the amazing creativity of our town. Revolution is committed to creating these important platforms because we firmly believe everyone has a story to tell. Lastly, so as I mentioned, the monologues will be available as podcast recordings. That's been done by Jonquil Panting from Jonks Productions. And the website is obviously www.revolutionarts.com in case you didn't get it. You can also sign up to our newsletter, so it just keeps you up to date with all the future projects that we will be doing. And I guess just before you leave, I'm going to hope that we get the survey link posted in the chat, because that has to be done. We would love to have your feedback on tonight's event. It really, really will help us, well, to know what we're doing right and what we can do better and what we can deliver, you know, as part of or with our communities, because that's always been the heart of what Revolution does. So that's it. That is a wrap. Thank you so much to our artists and for you for coming along.
Thank you.
And thank you and good evening.
Thank you, please.